I am not a specialist in this field. I am not a nuclear scientist. I am not a nuclear physician scientist, and not even a physician. So I can just enter into a political section of the discussion, and I hope that it will be useful. Uh, I try to be very brief, so I left the history of our nuclear activity, which was even before the revolution, and it has been established by the American and some European countries themselves. But after the revolution, because of the position of those countries against our revolution, they changed their behavior and toward our nuclear activities and tried to create problem for this peaceful activity, which is the right of any nation. As you may be aware, we have made significant progress over the last 20 months, including the Joint Plan of Action on 20 November 2013 in Geneva and coming close to outlining a comprehensive agreement on 24th November 2014 in Vienna. The delegation of the Islamic Republic of Iran has engaged in these talks with a firm mandate and a strong political will to reach a comprehensive agreement. We have clearly demonstrated that we are prepared to accept a rational and fair agreement based on mutual respect and interest. In the same manner as we resist and reject arbitrary, degrading, and unlawful demands, in the same manner as we resist and reject arbitrary, degrading, and unlawful demands, we have exhibited the reason and flexibility. We have tried to be creative and innovative and have offered solutions rather than drawing red lines. The Islamic Republic of Iran has worked based on the strong conviction that zero-sum approach simply doesn't work in our globalized world. You agree with me that in these negotiations, as in any, attempting to gain at the expense of the other side invariably result in a negative sum outcome. We will all win together or lose together. It was for this reason that in our joint plan of action, we envisaged a common goal for these negotiations: to reach a mutually agreed long-term comprehensive solution that would ensure Iran's nuclear program will be exclusively peaceful and would produce the comprehensive lifting of all UN Security Council sanctions, as well as multilateral and national sanctions related to Iran's nuclear program. Achieving the first objective is not difficult because Iran doesn't want or need nuclear weapons. In our view, nuclear weapons are obsolete tools of the past, incapable of providing external security or internal stability. This is especially the case for Iran, which is content with its size, geography, natural resources, and human capital, and has not started a single war in the past 3 centuries. A sober strategic assessment will show that nuclear weapons are detrimental to Iran's security, as even the perception will reserve our relative conventional advantage in our immediate neighborhood, and will expose Iran to undue danger in the wider regional and global context without providing any meaningful nuclear deterrence directly or even through proxies. Iran also has a solid track record of opposing all WMDs on religious grounds. Ayatollah Khamenei, our leader, like his predecessor, Imam Khomeini, peace be upon him, declared that all WMDs are strictly forbidden by Islam. Saddam Hussein, for this reason, Iran didn't use chemical weapons even in relation when Saddam Hussein gassed our troops and civilians on a scale not seen since the First World War. It's also illuminating to consider that despite the massive misinformation campaign and countless allegations, the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, has not found or reported any evidence of diversion of Iranian nuclear program to non-peaceful activities after 12 years and thousands of man-hours of strict verification. Practical limits envisaged by JPOA, Joint Plan of Action, preclude arbitrary limits which seek to shrink Iran's enrichment to a token program such is neither practical nor realistic. Since Iran was prevented from importing advanced enrichment technology, it established many laboratories, R&D centers, research and development centers, workshops and factories, and trained countless scientists, engineers, and technicians to indigenously develop and build centrifuges and other requirements of a peaceful nuclear program. These are unerasable. Hence, non-proliferation can be best assured by enabling Iran to maintain under appropriate international monitoring transparent enrichment facilities that are commensurate with Iran's actual technological capabilities and practical infrastructure and human resource consideration, and not artificially confined by arbitrary numbers and timeline. The second objective envisaged by JPOA, Joint Plan of Action, namely the lifting of all sanctions, is an essential component of any agreement. But some have been reluctant to abandon this counterproductive, illegal, and inhuman instrument of coercion, even at the expense of putting in jeopardy the entire process that provides certainty and assures transparency. Obsession with sanctions has not only obstructed a comprehensive long-term agreement, but also prevented the West from regaining the confidence of the Iranian people, even after the adoption of JPOA. While Iran has shown its good faith by completely fulfilling its part of the bargain under the deal, some in the West have attempted to impose more measures to maintain and strengthen the sanctions regime than to live up to their sanction easing commitments. Those who oppose a negotiated solution in the West need to fully appreciate the fact that the sanctions regime against Iran has not been an asset for them. It has been, in fact, a liability. Sanctions did hurt ordinary Iranians, but they also hardened their resolve to increase the number of their centrifuges from 200 to 20,000. It will be a shame if insistence on keeping these tools of coercion prevents achieving the objective that they were ostensibly designed to serve. As members of the UN, we all need to resist further erosion of the credibility of the Security Council through the abuse of its mechanism of collective security for short-sighted political objectives. Even in cases where sanctions are applied to address real threats to peace and stability, it is necessary to remember that they are not desirable and certainly not an end in themselves. Sanctions always impede the normal interaction between states, demolish transparency, promote corruption, hurt innocent human beings, and adversely affect their right to development. In our case, they can also kill an agreement that is well within reach. Dear audience, through these negotiations, we have shown significant flexibility. We didn't wait until the last days to reveal our flexibilities, but instead offered concrete solutions in writing from the initial stages of negotiations as early as May 2014. We offered to adopt voluntary, time-bound, verifiable, and immediately effective measures to remove any doubt about the exclusively peaceful nature of our nuclear program. These measures, which have been on the table since May, included accepting highest international standards of transparency, including the additional protocol, limiting the level, scope, and expansion of our enrichment activities, limiting stock of enrichment uranium, and conversion to proliferation-resistant fuel pellets. Reconfiguring Fordo and redesigning Arak heavy water research reactor to allay hypothetical proliferation concerns, and inviting regional and international partners to participate in our nuclear program. The steps that Iran has volunteered to adopt are truly unprecedented. They emanate from our belief in constructive engagement and exhibit our good faith in seeking mutually beneficial win-win solutions. Everyone stands to benefit from this unrepeatable opportunity to end a manufactured crisis and open new horizons to collectively address much more serious and pressing regional and global challenges. The Islamic Republic of Iran is confident that a comprehensive agreement is immediately within reach. It requires foresight, political will, and recognition of realities, as well as the audacity to make the right choice benefiting the entire global community rather than succumbing to the whims of vocal but increasingly unpopular pressure groups and special interests. We made important progress in Switzerland earlier this month with the 5 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council plus Germany. We agreed on parameters to remove any doubt about the exclusively peaceful nature of Iran's nuclear program and to lift international sanctions against Iran. But to seal the anticipated nuclear deal, more political will is required. Iran has been clear. The purview of our constructive engagement extends far beyond nuclear negotiations. Good relations with Iran's neighbors are our top priority. Our rationale is that the nuclear issue has been a symptom, not a cause. Not a cause, mistrust and conflict. Considering recent advances in symptom prevention, it's time for Iran and other stakeholders to begin to address the cause of tension in the wider Persian Gulf region. Iranian foreign policy is holistic in nature. Nothing in international politics functions in a vacuum. Security cannot be pursued at the expense of the insecurity of others. No nation can achieve its interests without considering the interests of others. One cannot confront Al-Qaeda and its ideological siblings, such as so-called Islamic State, which is neither Islamic nor a state, while effectively enabling their growth in Yemen and Syria. If one were to begin serious discussion of the calamities the region faces, Yemen would be a good place to start. Iran has offered a reasonable and practical approach to address this painful and unnecessary crisis. Our plan calls for an immediate ceasefire, humanitarian assistance, and facilitation of intra-Yemeni dialogue, leading to the formation of an inclusive, broad-based national unity government. On a broader level, regional dialogue should be based on generally recognized principles and shared objectives, notably respect for sovereignty, territorial integrity, and political independence of all the states, inviolability of international boundaries, non-interference in internal affairs, peaceful settlement of disputes, impermissibility of threat or use of force, and promotion of peace, stability, progress, and prosperity in the region. A regional dialogue could help promote understanding and interaction at the levels of government, the private sector, and civil society, and lead to agreement on a broad spectrum of issues, including confidence and security building measures, combating terrorism, extremism, and sectarianism, ensuring freedom of navigation and free flow of oil and other resources, protection of the environment. A regional dialogue could eventually include more formal non-aggression and security cooperation agreements. While this cooperation must be kept to relevant regional stakeholders, existing institutional framework for dialogue, and especially the United Nations, must be utilized. The Secretary General could furnish the necessary international umbrella. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. I would like to enlarge a little bit the view on the topic that you so well addressed today. I'm sure that a broader analysis should take into account, especially on the prospects of a comprehensive agreement, should take into account also the developments in Iraq, the way the things went, the appearance of the Islamic State, the situation in Syria, and I'm sure that even if those topics have not been addressed in the Geneva talks, nevertheless, in the P5+1 or in other formats, those issues have been raised, because it's clearly that the situation in the region has been changed, and the Americans, but also the Europeans, would like to have Iran as a possible partner in addressing some of those critical topics. And in my view, the GPA, the agreement of 2013 has been a breakthrough and a very encouraging step, because in the end, the nuclear capabilities of Iran were not considered as being outside the possible control of the agency. Mainly, it was a blockage in the negotiations and a question of ambition. You didn't mention Israel and the position of Israel on those agreements, but it's clear that, well, the nuclear capabilities, the nuclear weapons eventually of Iran might have created, especially in the view of Israel, a counterbalance, a very dangerous situation in the region. And Israel would have liked to have a certain monopoly on the nuclear weapons, taking into account the number of the people in the army, the military potential, and so on and so forth. So it's very interesting how the interests of the United States switched from the problems of the Middle East, in which the relations with Israel were very important, and the concerns for the larger region, in which, as I said already, the developments in Iraq, in Syria, the way the things went with the Islamic State created a new situation, a very dangerous one. And it's a strategic change in the position of the American administration, which in my opinion is very interesting. And I have here an analysis made a few days ago by the Congressional Research Service about Iran efforts to achieve a nuclear accord. I'm sure that you know this analysis, which is very interesting, not only because the analysis is on the technical issues, as you mentioned already, not only the background on nuclear program, not only the GPA provisions and implementations, the analysis of the sections and how they have been eased under the GPA, but also the efforts to forge the comprehensive agreement that you mentioned already, and the provisions of the framework agreement of the 2nd of April. But the regional reaction to the framework agreement. But what was very interesting for me to read was the way the Congress reacted to the agreement, the way some of the people in some the Republicans, so some of the Democrats also reacted to the agreement. I don't want to go further on this topic, but it's clear that the real problems here are not those of technical nature. They can be dealt with in the end. It's a question of trust, it's a question of good faith. In the end, it's a question of a certain partnership in a way or another. The problem is if in the near future, a certain partnership, partial or broader, will be established between Iran and some of the countries which are negotiated from the Atlantic community. And I think this is the real bet of the negotiations. Um, I I was impressed by the fact that the sanctions eased were quite substantial because, as I understood, Iran was able to repatriate about $700 million per month in hard currency from oil sales, and well, also very interesting to access an additional $65 million per month of its hard currency holdings abroad for tuition for Iranian students abroad, which was uh, quite interesting also because this is seen also as a kind of educating the young Iranians abroad in accord with a certain opening of, to say the least, for the relations with United States and some European countries. And I was also interested by the fact that Iran has abroad between $130 billion and $150 billion some holdings which are blocked in foreign banks, and only 20% of those money have been accessed by the Iranian banks. So a lot of money have been blocked in abroad, and that's why I was suggesting for the Romanian companies to try to use a moment in which some openings will take place, and some of the old connections, some of the possibilities to develop bilateral relations with Iran might appear. And you, as an ambassador, a bilateral ambassador here, I'm sure that you will try to identify already some companies which can enter already in preparing the prospect, the future of those relations. Well, I'm sure that at the end you'll make some comments on that, but I think it will be the right moment now to invite our guest from the Foreign Ministry, Director for Non-Proliferation and Asymmetrical Risks, Ms. Monica Matei, Director of this department, to share with us her views. Please.
Many thanks. Many thanks, Mr. President, for giving me the floor. It is indeed a great honor for me to be present here today at this important debate on a topic of utmost relevance, Iran's new nuclear deal. Before anything else, allow me, Mr. President, to thank you, and through you, the European Foundation Titulescu, your timely initiative to organize this debate today. Also, a word of gratitude from my part for being given the opportunity to bring a brief contribution from the perspective of the Romanian Foreign Ministry, where I work as a diplomat in charge of non-proliferation issues, including the Iranian nuclear file. Also, a warm welcome to His Excellency Amit Moayer, and many thanks, Mr. Ambassador, for the very interesting and comprehensive introduction of the topic under discussion. Since many points I wanted to make were already eloquently covered by Ambassador Moayer, and since I have no ambition whatsoever to make a comprehensive presentation now, I will limit myself to basically two main lines of argumentation. First of all, I will go briefly through the state of play in the process of negotiations and the main parameters of the New Deal on Iran. And afterwards, I will try to make a quick overview of how Romania sees this New Deal and what are the main coordinates of our position on the issue. So without any further ado, allow me to touch upon the state of play of negotiations. As Ambassador Moayer rightly hinted to, the Iranian nuclear file figures today highly on the agenda, on the political agenda of many international fora. At this level, two formats of negotiations are particularly proeminent, and these are on one hand the E3 plus 3 format of negotiations, which is the EU3, France, Germany, and United Kingdom, plus United States, Russia, and China. And on the other hand, we have another channel of negotiation between IEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, and Iran. Speaking first about the E3 plus 3 format of negotiations, I want to say that this format has been at the forefront of the international diplomatic efforts to find a solution to the Iranian nuclear file for many years already. Indeed, a historical breakthrough was reached in November 2013 with the agreement on the joint plan of action. In this framework, we have recently an important landmark moment with the agreement reached in Lausanne on 2nd of April on the parameters for the joint comprehensive plan of action. I want to say from the very beginning that these parameters are only preliminary. So we are now speaking about the framework for the final solution. The final solution is yet to be negotiated and agreed upon, and the deadline in this regard is fast approaching, is 13th of June this year. Now turning a bit to the IEA channel of negotiations, I want to stress that the turning point in the IEA relation with Iran was the signing in November 2013 of a joint statement on a framework for cooperation. With this framework for cooperation, Iran and IEA agreed to cooperate in order to ensure the exclusively peaceful nature of the Iranian nuclear program and to address all outstanding issues in their relationship. Many meetings have been taking place within this format, the most recent one being in Tehran at expert level on 15th of April. Speaking about IAEA, allow me to stress that it has indeed a special role in this negotiation process. First of all, it's the importance in itself of the framework of cooperation it has with Iran, but it also has an important role in monitoring what it is agreed within the framework of the E3 plus 3. To conclude on this, I want to stress that even if this negotiation proceed in parallel, they should not be seen as being independent. Actually, we see them as being totally complementary and reinforcing each other's, because at the end of the day, they both serve the same end objective, and that is to convince, to reassure the international community that the Iranian nuclear program is exclusively for peaceful purposes. With your permission, I would very briefly, without entering into any technical details, I would try to hint a bit at the substance of the deal reached. I will not go beyond what Ambassador Meyer already presented. Just a few points from my side. It is our assessment that this deal is indeed substantial, is well detailed, and is forward-looking. Just by way of exemplifying, I would just refer to a number of commitments undertook by Iran. So Iran, under these parameters for the new joint and comprehensive plan of action, undertook to reduce by 2/3 the number of its centrifuges. Iran further on undertook not to enrich uranium above the level of 3.67 for at least 15 years, and not to develop any new enrichment facilities for at least 15 years. Also, Ambassador Moyer explained in his presentation how the facilities at Fordow will be reconverted so that it will not be able to enrich any more uranium. Also, the facility, the heavy water facility in Iraq will be rebuilt and redesigned so that it will not be able to produce any more weapon-grade plutonium. And in this context, the facility in Natanz will remain basically the main one which will be able to enrich uranium, and this for at least the upcoming 10 years. Another important element in this context is what is called the breakout time. This is a time which is needed in order to acquire enough fissile material for a weapon. And at the current time, this time is assessed to be at about 2 to 3 months, but Iran agreed under the current deal to extend this to at least 1 year, and this for at least 10 years from now on. Also, speaking about the substance of the deal, I cannot but mention the unprecedented level of transparency and inspection which is envisaged. In this regard, the IAEA is supposed to have regular access to all the nuclear Iranian facilities. Moreover, and very important, and it was also mentioned by Ambassador Moyer, is the agreement of Iran to implement the additional protocol of the IAEA, which provides for even an enhanced level of information and access. And also we consider it very important that Iran agreed to implement a set of measures to be designed in order to address the IAEA concerns about the possible the so-called possibly military dimensions of this nuclear program. So at this point, I want to highlight another main characteristic of this deal, and that is that it follows a dual track approach. So on one side, we have the commitments undertook by Iran, and I went through briefly through a number of them. And on the other side, we have the commitment of the international community to give sanctions relief to Iran should Iran verifiably abide by its commitments. So in this context, in specific terms, I can mention the commitment of US and EU to lift the nuclear-related sanctions as soon as IAEA verifies that Iran has complied with the nuclear-related activities it subscribed to. Nevertheless, the deal provides for the fact that as soon as there is a failure in the implementation of commitments, that then the sanctions can snap back into picture immediately. Well, and finally, another important characteristic of this deal I want to mention now is the gradual and phased approach. So the deal envisages a number of time limits, but also a long-term and long-lasting perspective for the solution. So we have first a time frame of 10 years during which Iran will limit its domestic enrichment activity, research and development, and will apply this 1 year, minimum 1 year breakout time. Then we have the time frame of 15 years during which Iran will commit not to develop new enrichment facilities or new heavy water reactors, and to accept an enhanced level of transparency and inspections. On this enhanced level of transparency and inspection, um, it is worth saying that they are supposed to function well beyond this limit of 15 years, since Iran will implement the additional protocol of the IAEA, and this additional protocol is permanent. Moreover, we have Iran participation in the Non-Proliferation Treaty, NPT Treaty, which specifically prohibits the development and acquisition of nuclear weapons, and provides for the application of the IAEA safeguards in this regard. Well, I went through all these details in order to illustrate that indeed the negotiations are substantive, that the envisaged deal is well detailed, and it's a solid basis for a final solution. I will revert back to the way ahead towards the final solution a bit later, but right now allow me to go through how Romania sees the deal reached so far. So in this regard, I can mention three keywords when it comes to how we see the deal. This is to welcome it, to stress the importance of its implementation, and to speak about the assurances the international community is eager to get about the exclusively peaceful nature of the Iranian nuclear program. So about welcoming, as you may be well aware, the Romanian Foreign Ministry promptly welcomed the deal reached of this 2nd of April this year between the E3+3 and Iran in Lausanne in Switzerland. Furthermore, Romania very much welcomes the consistent and substantive efforts undertaken by the E3+3 countries under the excellent coordination of the EU High Representative Federica Mogherini. We also very much welcome the constructive stand Iran followed throughout the negotiation process so far. It was our assessment that this deal reached in Lausanne is indeed a significant step forward towards a final and comprehensive solution capable of reassuring the international community about the exclusive peaceful nature of the Iranian nuclear program. Secondly, I mentioned the importance of implementation. So we think that indeed what is essential now is a firm commitment of Iran to fully implement the measures it subscribed to in accordance with the parameters of the joint plan of action, and in such a way as to provide unbeatable guarantees about the exclusive peaceful nature of its program, in due consideration with the legitimate right of Iran as of any country to use the nuclear energy in accordance with the NPT Treaty and in full observance of the resolutions of UN Security Council and of the IEA Board of Governance. So while speaking about implementation, I cannot but refer back to the important role played by IEA in monitoring this implementation. And from this perspective, indeed, we noted with satisfaction in the periodic subsequent reports by the Director General of the IEA the confirmation that Iran indeed complied with the measures undertaken taken under the extended joint plan of action, and we do hope that it will continue to do so in the future. And finally, I was mentioning the assurances. This is the end objective of everything. So at the end of the day, international community needs the assurance that the Iranian nuclear program is exclusively peaceful. This can be done only through the full implementation of the resolutions of the UN Security Council and the IAEA Board of Governors, and also through the full implementation of the IAEA additional protocol. In the absence of this, unfortunately, the IAEA will not be able to, to, to to provide credible assurances about the absence of any undeclared nuclear material or activity in Iran. And from this perspective, we are indeed convinced that it is in Iran's interest to accelerate its work with the IAEA and to work towards solving all outstanding issues, including the possible military dimension of its program. So along this line, to conclude, I just would say that we are indeed confident that real progress is indeed achievable, and a final solution within reach from now until the deadline of 13th of June. We think that the key in this regard should be the flexibility of the parties, and we hope that all parties will use this momentum created with the agreement on the joint plan of action and the subsequent agreement on the parameters for the joint and comprehensive plan of actions. We do hope that Iran will seize this opportunity and will address once and for all international community concerns in this regard. Also in this context, and since I'm representing here the foreign ministry, I would like to bring to your attention the fact that while we speak now here in New York, there is an important event taking place which is relevant for our discussions here, and that is the review conference of the non-proliferation treaty, as we call it, the NPT REFCON. And well, the Romanian delegation there is led by our Secretary of State for Strategic Affairs, Mr. Daniel Ionita, and we also have an important role as chair of the second main committee on non-proliferation, and this role will be assumed by our ambassador in Vienna, Ambassador Cristian Istrate. So the Iranian nuclear file will be high on the agenda of the discussions in New York as well, and we indeed hope that the positive developments so far on this file will have an impact on the overall chances for a successful outcome of the review conference in New York. From our part, we think that the review conference now in New York is the best opportunity for all state parties to renew their commitment to the non-proliferation regime and to reaffirm their determination to implement in a balanced manner all their obligations along the three pillars of the treaty, which are nuclear disarmament, nuclear non-proliferation, and the peaceful uses of energy. And it was with this message that the head of the Romanian delegation delivered his statement in New York yesterday. Well, I want now to conclude. I'm sorry if I took too much of the time. But I want to hint a bit to how is the way forward. So as I said, what we have now, it's only preliminary. Important work lies ahead of the negotiators. Important implementation issues are still unresolved, and also very important political and also technical matters are still to be agreed upon. From our in our view, the prerequisite for moving forward on this are basically starting with the political will of the parties, then the hard work of the negotiations. Then we have to maintain, I mean, the negotiation process should maintain its general philosophy for a phased, gradual approach aiming for a long-term, long-lasting and comprehensive solution. Last but not least, we should maintain the mantra that nothing is agreed until everything agreed. We are hopeful that at the end of the day, along this line, a solution is reachable. We, Romania stands ready to fully support these efforts. And just by way of conclusion, allow me to refer back to a statement made recently by Foreign Minister Bogdan Aurescu, in which he expressed his hope of that indeed the recent progress in the negotiations will give an impetus to finalizing with a comprehensive and long-lasting solution within the time frame agreed, self-assumed by the parties. And with this cautiously optimistic note, I very much thank you for your attention and patience, and I'm looking forward to interesting comments from the distinguished audience and questions as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much for this excellent presentation. And, I'm sure that the next time we'll organize a debate on this issue in Romanian. By then, you'll speak Romanian. And I'm sure that we'll have a lot of other people joining us in a debate on this issue. But as usual, we are pioneers in this foundation. We try to open the way for assessing the developments in various parts of the world. And in my opinion, the most difficult negotiations connected with this, with the deal which has to be finalized until the 30th of June, will be the negotiations in the US Congress. So I think the way this deal will be done in a broader context. There are so many issues accumulated in the area, and no wise man should be blocked on technical issues, and the level of 3.5, I think, was established in order to allow the medical use of the uranium, and this was the understanding, the way the things have been agreed upon initially, and I think it's a wise decision. Now, the way the things will be controlled are really technical issues, and I'm sure that as the things developed in the last years, there is a clear interest of both Iran and the negotiating parties to reach an agreement, because there are many other things at stake. Well, it's obvious that for the Americans, an area, a very sensitive issue, are the most sensitive issue is the relationship with Israel on this issue, on this matter. And of course, in Israel, some of the parties, the government, are very nervous about some of the developments in Geneva. And it's clear that the regional issues have been to be discussed and negotiated, and it's very difficult to isolate one of the issues without taking into account some other risk or fears. On the other side, if you don't start with something, you will remain blocked for a very long time. That's why I'm also confident that at this stage, there is a very good opportunity to finalize the agreement by the 1st of July. It's a political matter, it's not a technical one. The technical issues will come afterwards. Well, now let me ask if there are some comments from the audience. Okay, please, you have the floor.
Thank you. I am very grateful, Excellencies, Prime Minister, who organized with our friend people of Iran. Indeed, this is a good beginning of improving our relations with our countries. During the last years, as you know, mainly because of debates around of nuclear problems, our relations, and not only of Romania, but other European countries suffered. And I am obliged to mention that during our history, Romania had very important relations with your country in all fields. For instance, in the history that the famous Romanian king, Stefan the Great, Stefan German, had a military and friendly cooperation with Persia. So now, and during over decades, we had a very good cooperation with your countries in all fields. But I realize that our relation suffers, and now we are obliged to try to make more in this thing. That's why we hope that this problem will be improved, solved in the interest of our countries. Sure that Europeans and including Americans, as I read during the last time, that including American president is interested to improve relations with Iran. That's why we hope very much that this problem will be solved in a very short time. At the same time, Ambassador, we need to try now. This is a good opportunity for us to find the new opportunities, the new fields of cooperation between our two countries. My feeling is that we need to improve, to have a better political dialogue, to improve our economical relations and cultural relations too. So this problem shows that will be very important for all of us. I had chance, including here, to speak about perspective of our relation with Iran, and mainly in the field of energy. I remember when I was ambassador in Armenia, that Iranian friends and authorities was very much interested to export energies, oil from gas from Iran through Black Sea to Europe, including for Romania. So I think that this project will need to be recovered and to decide together to make something in this way. We have a huge opportunity from this point to recover our relations. You know very well we suffered. We had during of decades fantastic, big, important relation with your country. As a good friendly peoples, I think that we need to make more efforts in this way. That's why I invite, including our colleagues from Foreign Affairs, to try to understand that our Iranian people is very much interested and Romanian people to have a better cooperation in fields from all points. And to try that all these problems regarding the nuclear power, first of all, we need to have in view the international principle of respect among peoples and states. We need to eliminate the using of force as a main principle of international law. That's why we think that all countries in the world need to cooperate in this way of respect of international principles or international law. So thank you very much, Ambassador, and we hope to have a better perspective and better future in our cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You wanted to say something, yes? Yeah, please.
Hello, Your Excellency. My name is Laurențiu Nedianu. I'm a master's student at the University of Bucharest, security-related studies. I would have a couple of questions for you. First of all, I think that the gentleman here argued somehow a part of the question. It was regarding the lifting of the sanctions of Iran. It is well predicted by the world economists that lifting the sanctions of Iran would relax more than a bit the world economy, which happens to be in a deep crisis right now. But where would the European Union withstand afterwards? I mean, if maybe the block project that was Nabucco would be of interest for Iran, or maybe a new energetic project regarding the European Union, which it's deeply dependent by the Russian Federation right now. First question, and if you I may, I will ask you the second question. After lifting the sanctions over Iran, how would that be affecting Iran's relations with Saudi Arabia? This would be regarding also the economy, because Saudi Arabia right now exports a lot of oil to the world. Thank you very much.
Questions? Please.
His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador Hamid Moayer, spoke before of the interest of the Republic of Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, of the cooperation with foreign investors. I would like to address Ms. Monica Matei from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs if there is any treaty of economical and technical cooperation in course of drafting to talk with the other side, because I know that the treaty that we have, it's very old, it's ancient, it's from the communist era. And we should adapt it to the reality of Romania being a part of European Union. And also maybe Romania can act as a liaison officer between Iran and the interests of European Union in Iran. And I think drafting a treaty should help the investors start cooperating more swiftly. Thank you very much.
Please.
Thank you very much. I would like a question for His Excellency. If we the if before, the sanctions are lifted, deal is made, and the international community accepts back Iran, Islamic Republic of Iran, back international community. What will Iran do in that region? I mean, uh, off the record, you will be the second country with a nuclear development. The second, the first one is Israel, off the record. But what will Iran do in the region alongside the current conflicts? I mean, uh, especially Islamic State. Will Iran uh, continue to have a collaboration with US or the Egypt as is recognized already? Will take forward the implication in military direction against the Islamic State? Thank you.
Well, the debates become more interesting. Any other questions? Well, some of the topics are very well challenging. Ambassador, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me thank Madam Monica Matei for her very nice explanation about the history of this discussion and this file. Just I want to mention that always our cooperation with IAEA was in the highest level, and we were very open to this organization to attract their assistance toward solving the nuclear issue, Iranian nuclear issue. And as I mentioned in my speech, there is not even one point be mentioned by IAEA that Iranian nuclear activities has any diversion from the right path of peaceful activities. It's quite clear from the beginning our intention was a peaceful activity, just to produce electricity to use in agriculture, in producing some medical needs and drugs. So we had never had any intention of producing any atomic bomb, and never we will have such a purpose, an idea in the future. It is against our Islamic beliefs. A Muslim nation never is allowed to attack any civilian in any war. If you study the history of Islam, in all wars in the history, the Muslims, they were obliged to look after the civilians, to be very careful about the civilians. And we believe the war is only between the soldiers, and it's not any permission to attack the civilians. How we can go for atomic bomb? As I mentioned, what is the use of atomic bomb? Do you think the countries who own atomic bomb now they are safe? They feel secured? I don't think so. None of them. For example, this Israel that several times the people mentioned the name. They own, as it's mentioned, something like 200 warhead nuclear bombs. So do you think they are safe today? I think even they are not secured through the stones which they are receiving by the Palestinian, and how they can use that bomb to secure themselves. It's impossible. And it's something, as I mentioned, belonging to the past. Even the country who own atomic bomb, if you go to their people and try to have the idea of the people, you cannot find even one nation to agree his government attack the innocent people by atomic bomb. So the world, all the countries, the international community can be completely confident that our intention from the beginning was not producing any atomic bomb, and it is like that, and it will be like that. It's a very clear order or fatwa of a religious leader who is now the leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran. So we will continue our cooperation, and as I mentioned, the agreement is quite possible within the reach, and if all the parties they prove they are cooperative, it can be reached. Otherwise, it is not in benefit of anybody when there is no agreement. All the parties, 5+1, they believe that Iran should play its important role in the region to help to solve the problems in the region. But if we continue to put pressure on Iran because of the nuclear activities, peaceful nuclear activity, what will be the result? That cooperation cannot be obtained. If you allow me, some colleagues, they raised some questions. It's good for your information that still we have no official or diplomatic relation with America, because from the beginning of the revolution, it was their decision to cut the relation. We were not before that. And of course, it was because of our stance. After the revolution, we openly announced our position is neither east nor west, which is still you can find it on the top of the entrance door of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Tehran. It means we are not dependent to east, we are not dependent to west. We do not like to follow any instruction from any side. We want to decide ourselves about our policy and our decisions. So we have no relation with America, and whatever has gone up to now in this discussion was merely about the nuclear issue. Of course, in the past, we had some discussion in Iraq regarding the security in Iraq between the ambassador of Iran in Iraq and the ambassador of America, of course, by the presence of Iraqi authorities. And in this discussion, it was merely about the nuclear activities. So we are beyond that. We have not discussed about our relation, bilateral relation. So in future, if they want to be more active in cooperation with Iran, definitely, first of all, they have to solve the problem which still exists in the relation between Iran and America. I thank our friend who raised the historical relation between Iran and Romania and raise the issues in this regard. As you rightly mentioned, the political dialogue and discussion is needed to boost the relation in different fields. From our side, we have announced our readiness. We are waiting for our Romanian side to be more active. In this regard, we had the visit of Madame Burlako last year to Iran. It was after the visiting of several foreign ministers from Europe to Iran. So it was a little late, but anyhow, better than nothing. And we welcomed that visit, and we hope that it will go up to the higher levels. We agreed with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister Aurescu. It will be followed in the future. But we need to see more activeness from the Romanian side. I explained to them that you are enjoying a very good background in Iran, a very good market. You have, I didn't know it before my departure to Romania. I understood that they're Iranian businessmen, that they're in love of Romanian production and Romanian cooperation. Some industrials explained to me that they have opened their factory with the help of Romanian experts. And still, of course, there are some experts from Romania, especially in oil and gas industries in Iran. So by this background, I'm surprised why Romania is so slow in its steps. And I'm afraid, I'm concerned that maybe the others who are more active, they will occupy the markets and nothing will be left for Romania. So I share this idea with my colleague that we need more work, especially from Romania. And maybe the Minister of Foreign Affairs can play a stronger role in this field to encourage the other organizations. In this regard, I suggested the joint commission, commercial joint commission, we reactivated because now it's 12 years which it has been stopped. We need to reactivate it. A joint commission can really assist, will be very helpful for the businessmen to find their relevant parties in the other side and to join together, and then they can continue. But we have not that joint commission for the time being. From our side, our Minister of Trade is responsible for joint commission. They are prepared to enter into discussion with the relevant authorities in Romania, but we are waiting. Our dear student from Bucharest University, he raised 2-3 questions, something regarding Nabucco. I think Nabucco is a very old project, and it has stopped. And I don't know if the other parties they are willing to renew it, or to activate it. If the other party, they show their willingness, maybe Islamic Republic of Iran will look into it seriously. But we didn't hear anything from the other parties. He raised this question that after lifting the sanctions, how will be the relation between Iran and Saudi Arabia? The relation between Iran and Saudi Arabia has no problem with this issue, as has no relation with the sanction issue. We are both Islamic countries, and we have historical relations. The only problem between Iran and Saudi Arabia, I think, is the um, unwise decisions at the level of, I don't know, say leadership or some advisors in that country. Really, we are prepared to enter into discussion in all fields with Saudi Arabia, but they avoid to do that. And they try to create more problems in the region and directly or indirectly support the terrorists, Al-Qaeda, Daesh, or the opposition terrorists against the government of Mr. Assad in Syria. And really, it's a very dangerous behavior, which definitely and surely can endanger their own existence in future. So by this behavior, it's difficult to enter into a fruitful relation with the Saudi Arabia, and especially these days they have attacked the Yemen country, killing innocent people of Yemen. For what? For nothing. What is the use of this attack? What is the use of this aggression? What do they want to gain in Yemen? Can they change the decision of a nation by attacking them and killing them? Is it possible? The people of Yemen, they had entered into dialogue, the national dialogue. They were very close to reach the agreement. Unfortunately, at that point, Mr. Abdel Rabbi Mansour, the interim president of Yemen, he resigned. The Houthi people and the others, they encouraged him to go back. Don't resign. But he refused. He went back home, stayed at home. And suddenly, we understood that he left home hiddenly toward Aden. In Aden, he declared Aden as the new capital of Yemen. Very strange. Just in one day, in few hours, a president changes the capital from one place to another. So Saudis, it seems that they were behind this, let's say, satanic project. They quickly recognized Aden as the new capital. They transferred their capital. And of course, Saudi's children, Kuwait, Emirates, Bahrain, and Qatar, they also transferred their embassies to Aden. And alhamdulillah, no other country. It's quite clear, a wise leader never accepts such change of capital just in few hours. The Houthis, they warned him not to continue with that, but he refused. And he attracted Al-Qaeda terrorist people to Aden. Very dangerous issue. So the Houthis rushed to Aden to attack Al-Qaeda, which is still they are engaged in it. Even under the bombardment, if you follow the news, even in this situation, the Houthis, Ansarullah, they are fighting Al-Qaeda. So after that, unfortunately, Saudis started bombarding Yemen, bombarding Houthi places, and killing innocent people. Something like 2,000 innocent people have been killed. Infrastructure destroyed, hospitals destroyed, schools, the houses of the innocent people. They declare that they have bombarded the Houthis' armament or arsenals, which is baseless. The Houthis, they have kept their patience. They have this ability to answer this attack, but they have kept their patience. They don't want to give this chance, the terrorism, to grow up in the region. It's a very dangerous situation. We have Daesh in Iraq and Syria, now Al-Qaeda in Yemen, and they are benefiting this situation and growing. Iran has proposed a 4-article plan to the United Nations. We have proposed, first of all, stopping the attacks and bombarding. Secondly, humanitarian assistance should be quickly sent to Yemen, which unfortunately up to now, Saudis, they have stopped humanitarian assistance to reach to Yemen. Now, 3 times our aircraft, they have gone to Sana'a to take the assistance, the food and medical assistance, and to bring the injured people to Iran, to Iran's hospital for treatment. But they refused. And for the last time yesterday, maybe you heard, our pilot, which had enough permission, he went toward the Sana'a airport, but the Saudis jets, they want him to go back. He said, I have enough permission. It's a land of Yemen. It's not land of Saudi. So he continued to land in Sana'a airport, but unfortunately the jets, Saudi jets, they bombarded the airport. So there was no way for our aircraft to land, so they came back to Tehran. So the third proposal was encouraging all parties in Yemen to enter into Yemeni dialogue. It's a Yemeni problem. It's not up to any other country to interfere. So we can only encourage them to enter into national dialogue. And the fourth step will be establishing, of course, helping the Yemenis to establish a national unity government. Who received this plan, they said it's very reasonable. United Nations and other authorities of the other countries, they all agreed. And I hope that, inshallah, a plan like this will be able to work in near future. A few days back, Saudis, they announced they have decided to stop bombarding, but again, another title, they continued their bombarding Yemen. So in this situation, my friend, do you think there is any room for good relation between Iran and Saudi? Of course, the root of the problem in Saudi Arabia is the changing of the leadership. We think the late King Abdullah was wise enough not to approach mad action like bombarding another nation. But after him, these new people, and still the conflict is going on within the leadership of Saudi. You heard today that the king has changed the plans, and also the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Change will be on the way. And we really doubt about the Al Saud, continue in Saudi Arabia. So the main problem and the root of the problem is from the leadership in Saudi Arabia. It's very difficult to get into relation with this. Another a friend raised the question that, of course, she asked the Minister of Foreign Affairs. I think Madam Matei will go to answer the question regarding the draft of the agreements. The other one was if the sanction is lifted, what will be the action of Iran in the region? If we will have any cooperation with America and Egypt, I mean military cooperation to fight against ISIS or Daesh. As I mentioned, we are a completely independent country. We are very active in fighting Daesh from the beginning day. And if it was not Iran, now maybe Baghdad was under the control of Daesh. Because when the West, American, European countries, they were busy with the changing of government in Iraq and following that issue seriously, and Daesh was threatening Baghdad, it was only Iranian advisors, military advisors, who assisted the Iraqi government and the military to push Daesh back. Otherwise, more probably now Baghdad was in the hand of Daesh. And still Iran is actively supporting the government of Iraq. And it is our belief that the main support should go to the governments who are facing the terrorists directly, like the government of Iraq, government of Syria, government of Lebanon. And unfortunately, the coalition of America and the others, they are just bombarding Daesh from air, which is not advised military by military advisors. It's not useful. Maybe bombarding a classic army is useful, but the terrorist people who can quickly change their places, what is the use of bombarding? And they have sent several parcels of armament and assistance toward, as they mentioned, the opposition of Assad. I don't know, but the Daesh has collected those parcels. And they say it was by mistake. Who can believe a very confiscated military in the world can make so many mistakes? Anyhow, we believe that our policy and our military approach is a right one to assist the governments who are facing the terrorists, because they know their country better than anybody else. An Iraqi commander knows Iraq better than any other person in the world. A Syrian commander knows the Syrian territory better than any other person in the world. So if we assist them, we give them this chance to get more ability to fight the terrorists. They need some financial assistance, they need some armament, they need military advice. They should be provided. Otherwise, I think we are not very serious in fighting terrorism. I don't know if there is anything else. I'm at your disposal.
In your assessment, Ambassador, the Deveselu shield, which is its purpose? The NATO officials said it's not designed against Russian missiles. Then, which is, in your assessment, the role, the purpose of that shield in Romania?
Iran is a very peaceful country. As I mentioned in my speech, since 3 centuries back up to now, we have no record of aggressing or attacking any country. So when they, as I remember, when they started to establish this shield, they announced it is because of the threats from the Middle East in those days. And some people, of course, it was not very officially, but some people announced maybe from the side of Iran. And we were very surprised how it can be possible for Iran to attack Europe, and what is the benefit or profit behind it? Um, what can be really, I mean, a wise, beneficial intention behind it? So after this problem in Ukraine crisis, now I think it is quite clear for everybody that empowering the military situation, not only in Romania but in all Eastern European countries, is as it has been openly announced through the commander of NATO and the other officials of NATO or the other officials in European countries, it is to protect Europe because of the Ukraine problem, Ukraine crisis. So when it is officially announced that we are empowering Romania, empowering Poland and Bulgaria and the other countries to protect the European Union, is still announcing that this shield is because of the threat from Middle East is deluding ourselves. So I think if yesterday it was not clear, today is very clear that it is, as I mentioned, the authorities, they announce it openly. And this empowerment is according to the decisions in Wales and other meetings, and they will continue to get assured that the crisis which happened in Ukraine will not affect the other European states in future.
Thank you very much. I said it was a naive question, so that's why I dared to ask. Well, now the foreign ministry, which will have the last word.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I will be brief. I just want to thank the distinguished participants for their interesting comments. I took note with interest of the many remarks on the need to take into consideration the broader, wider regional context. I actually concur with this assessment since I believe that Iran has a role to play in the new dynamics in the region. There was a specific question addressed to me about the prospects for a new treaty with Iran. I should say that I cannot give a straightforward answer since the bilateral relation with Iran is not within the remit of my competencies. But I can confidently say that Romania has a genuine interest in the continuation of the political dialogue with Iran and the revitalization of the bilateral economic relation in due correlation with the progress which is registered in the negotiations on the nuclear file and the developments related to the international regime on sanctions in place at the current times. From this perspective, finding a final solution to the nuclear file, followed by the comprehensive and gradual lifting of sanctions, will indeed create the conditions for relaunching and enhancing our bilateral economic relation with Iran in all fields of cooperation, as traditionally our countries have cooperated in many and important fields. Well, and about the role Romania can assume at the EU level, I can only say that we are more than eager, yes, to bring our contribution based on our experience of a traditional, well-established relation with Iran. I also took good note of the comments made by Ambassador Moyer on the prospect for an enhanced relationship, and I'm much encouraged, speaking on the nuclear side, that Iran is indeed willing to work towards a successful solution to the nuclear issue. And to conclude, and without being afraid of big words, I should say that I believe that if this final solution will be fully implemented, then we will have a safer world for us, and the multilateral a non-proliferation regime will turn out stronger. So I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for these comments. Our discussion will continue. It's not only about Iran, it's not only about nuclear weapons, it's about a region which has been in turmoil for many years. Iran can play a very important role. I remember the role Iran had in 1990 when Iraq attacked Kuwait. I was foreign minister at that time, and I remember my cooperation with Mr. Velayati, I mentioned to you earlier. Well, now let me nevertheless say a few words about the Nabucco and the Iranian oil. The Iranian oil, unfortunately for us, it's a heavy oil. It was used in Romania only by one refinery, as I remember. It was in Novodari. It was the refinery. And that's why now, as I know, it's difficult for Romanian refineries to import Iranian oil. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is what I remember from some of the analysis made in Romania for bringing extra oil at a time when Romania was producing 10, 11 million tons of oil, outcomes, produced products per year. I don't believe that Nabucco will be resuscitated. It's a dead project, in my opinion. And we invested a lot in this project, but it's very strange that some of the partners in this project didn't go on with it. Romania is in a very special, wise position that now all the energy corridors are going outside our territory. Maybe it was a very special strategy, but it gave results anyway. Concerning the nuclear weapons, well, Israel didn't want to have the weapons in order to attack. They say at least that these weapons are for eventually retaliate, and as a way for defending itself against a possible aggression. But this is a very special argument, and it can, as we know, it can develop in a logic of war in the end. Anyway, at a certain moment, there was a project for denuclearization of the region, but of course, Israel was not very enthusiastic about it. And well, the ambassador knows, as I know, which is the rhetoric of having or not having the nuclear weapons. But in the end, it's a question of trust between the states in the region. And I hope that in the end, going step by step, this topic will be eliminated in a way or another. But of course, the Iranians say, look, if the Israelis have the nuclear weapon, why not? Well, let us also have a nuclear weapon. Well, at a certain moment. Now, they say, look, we still need to have medical equipments using a kind of uranium equipment. So when there is no trust, it's almost impossible to find a good solution, because you can have, well, a going up policy in the region, and this might generate the lack of the suspicion, as it was the case with the second war in Iraq, when the attacks took place believing that the Iraqi had weapons of mass destruction, which was not the case. But of course, the role, in my opinion, of the Geneva talks and the other talks around is essential for re-establishing a certain level of trust and making possible agreements after the agreements. At the beginning, an agenda, afterwards a framework agreement, preparing the agreement, and then the implementation with the guarantees and so on and so forth, and engaging Iran in a gradual process of finding solution in the whole region. Because Iran is a partner not only for the nuclear weapons or the nuclear issues, it is a partner for a whole range of regional issues. That's why, once again, thank you very much, Ambassador, for your presence here. I'm sure that we'll continue to evaluate together in a very friendly manner, with a very clear objective of finding a development for the bilateral relations between Romania and Iran, but also in trying to understand the way the things go in your region. I think you wanted to add something. I'm sure. Okay.
Thank you very much for the recent issue which Mr. President you raised. I want to attract the view of our audience here toward the speech of Dr. Jawad Zarif, our Minister of Foreign Affairs, in this, conference or gathering which is going on regarding non-proliferation treaty in New York. He has delivered this strong speech, shows our desire, our strong desire, a world free of atomic bombs and atomic arsenals. I have it here, but we have no time to read it. Just regarding this recent issue which Mr. President raised, he mentioned the heads of state or government non-aligned movement in their Tehran Summit Declaration of 2012 reiterated their support for the establishment of a zone free of nuclear weapons and all other weapons of mass destruction in the Middle East, and as a priority step to this end, reaffirmed the need for the speedy establishment of a NWFZ in the Middle East. No WMD free zone, NWFZ in the Middle East. They also called upon all parties concerned to take urgent and practical steps for the establishment of a such zone, and pending its establishment, demanded that Israel, the only one in the region that has neither joined the NPT nor declared its intention to do so, to renounce possession of nuclear weapons, to accede to the NPT without precondition and further delay, to place promptly all its nuclear facilities under IAEA, full scope safeguards, and to conduct its nuclear-related activities in conformity with the non-proliferation regime. We are determined to continue pursuing, as a matter of high priority, the implementation of the 1995 resolution and the 2010 action plan on the Middle East, and strongly support the establishment of a nuclear weapon-free zone in the Middle East. Then we express our serious concern over the long delay in the implementation of the 1995 resolution and urge the three co-sponsors of the resolution, the United States, the United Kingdom, and the Russian Federation, to take all necessary measures to fully implement it without any further delay. So what we are looking for in the Middle East is a Middle East free of WMD. So it means that we have accepted for ourselves also. So what Mr. President said, mentioned that if Israel possesses some nuclear weapons, maybe Iran will say that, okay, they have, we want to have. No, we don't want to have, as I mentioned before, we have no intention. And what we are looking for is a Middle East free of WMD. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Well, don't suspect me that I have read the speech of the foreign minister before, but I know that this was a discussion at a certain moment, and when we look to the region in general, of course, we have to evaluate, to think about all possibilities, not at this stage, of course, but Indian solutions have to come step by step. Once again, Ambassador and esteemed Director, it was a great pleasure to learn from you, Ambassador, and also to get acquainted with a new generation of directors in the foreign ministry. Of course, well, the topic is sensitive politically, but it has to be based on a very, it has to be assessed on very good technical analysis. So that's why we have to know the details as much as we can, because I'm sure that there are a lot of things happening behind closed doors, and it's normal, it's natural. We didn't ask you to tell us more about those things and those arrangements, but I'm sure that they exist, and this is good. Well, we just want to, for the Romanian diplomacy and for Romanian think tanks, to understand which is the direction, the developments, the opportunities, including for academic cooperation, but also for economic cooperation. That's why, once again, thank you very much both for your presence here. I think it was an interesting discussion for the audience, and I invite you to continue to attend our meetings and to share with us your views on very interesting and very promising region. I think it is our duty to try to understand not only what is going in Brussels or Strasbourg. It is important for us to understand also what happens in the Persian Gulf and also the Middle East. Once again, thank you.